There are places on Earth where simply surviving is a challenge. Lands where winters can last for months, where the air is too thin to breathe easily, where oceans, ice, or deserts separate humans from the rest of the world. And most astonishingly, there are still people who call those places home. If the supermarkets in your city only received supplies a few times a year, how would you survive? Ittoqqortoormiit, Greenland. Deep in eastern Greenland, where ice and snow dominate nearly everything, a small community exists, isolated from the rest of the world. Ittoqqortoormiit, one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth. And simply setting foot here feels like an Arctic expedition. To reach this place, most travelers must first fly to Iceland. Then continue onward to a tiny isolated airport in eastern Greenland. But the journey still is not over. From there, you must continue by helicopter, boat, or snowmobile, crossing another 25 miles of ice and isolation before finally reaching the settlement. From above, the place looks like a handful of small houses, trapped between rock, ice, and the Arctic Ocean. During winter, darkness covers this place for weeks at a time. Temperatures plunge to extreme lows. The sea freezes over. The conditions become so harsh that even a small disruption in supplies can turn into a survival challenge. There is no convenience of city life. No easy options. Only freezing cold, distance, and nature that is always stronger than humanity. Yet people still live here. They hunt, fish, store food, preparing for winter, as if their lives depend on it. Because in Ittoqqortoormiit, they truly do. What's truly remarkable is not that this place exists, but that in an environment seemingly never meant for humans, there are still people who choose to stay, turning the edge of the world into home. A place where people live near the physical limits of the human body. Hidden deep within the Peruvian Andes, at an altitude of more than 16,700 feet, stands a city that almost should not exist. Its name is Rinconada, the highest permanently inhabited city on Earth. At this elevation, the air contains far less oxygen than at sea level. Every step, every physical task becomes more difficult. For many people, even a few hours here would be a challenge. But for the tens of thousands of people living in La Rinconada, this is everyday life. The reason this place exists lies deep beneath the frozen ground. Gold. The dream of striking it rich has pushed people close to the limits of survival. Miners work in freezing temperatures, thin air, and brutal living conditions. Everything here is harder. Breathing, moving, surviving. As if nature is constantly reminding humanity of one thing. Humans were not built to live at this altitude. And yet they remain, day after day, between frozen mountains, between thin air, in a place where the human body is constantly fighting just to survive. And perhaps the most astonishing thing about La Rinconada is not that it sits so close to the sky, but that people still continue to call it home. To leave this place, the ocean must allow it. In the middle of the South Atlantic, more than 1,500 miles from the nearest mainland, exists a tiny community, so isolated it almost stands outside the rest of the world. This is Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited settlement on Earth. No airport, no emergency flights, no highways connecting it to the outside world. To reach this place, there is only one way: the ocean. Supply ships can take nearly a week to reach this tiny volcanic island. And the weather does not always cooperate. Rough seas, powerful winds, storms rolling in from the Atlantic. Simply transporting food, fuel, and essential supplies is already a massive challenge. But the distance is only the beginning. Here, everything moves slower, quieter, more isolated. In the middle of an almost endless ocean, a small community still survives. Living, working, building their lives in a place that barely allows mistakes. What's truly remarkable is not that Tristan da Cunha is so far from the rest of the world, but that within such near total isolation, people still choose to stay. Here, nature always decides the rules. Hidden deep within Norway's Svalbard archipelago, only a few hundred miles below the North Pole, lies a town where people are trying to survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Longyearbyen, one of the northernmost inhabited settlements in the world. During winter, the sun can disappear for months. Darkness, ice, and extreme cold become part of everyday life. The ground remains permanently frozen. Permafrost. Cold enough to change the way people build homes, the way they travel, and even the way they survive. But the most dangerous thing here is not beneath your feet. It is outside the town. Polar bears. One of the Arctic's most dangerous predators. Leaving the settlement unprepared can become a fatal mistake. Here, humans do not stand above nature. They are living inside it. Yet despite the darkness, the cold, the isolation, people still remain, working, researching, building lives in a place where nature constantly reminds humanity of one thing. No matter how advanced technology becomes, there are still places on Earth where nature always decides the rules. The people here decided to turn the underground into a city. In the middle of the harsh deserts of southern Australia, where summer temperatures can rise above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, exists a community that chose to survive in a way almost no one would expect. They did not fight the heat. They escaped beneath it. Coober, Pedy, one of the strangest towns on Earth. From a distance, it looks like a barren wasteland in the middle of the desert. But beneath the surface exists an entirely different world. Homes, hotels, restaurants, even churches. Built deep underground. The locals call them dugouts. Homes carved directly into the rock, where temperatures remain far more stable than the scorching heat above. In this place, the sun is not what brings life. It is what forced people to completely change the way they survive. Water shortages, dust storms, extreme heat. What's truly remarkable is not that a city exists in a desert almost impossible to inhabit, but that when nature made the surface too harsh, people looked beneath it. And turned the underground into home. More than 300 families, with almost no land. Yet they still live here, in the middle of the sea, hidden within Thailand's Phang Nga Bay. Koh Panyi is a village that almost should not exist. Because this place was not built on land. It floats on the water. Hundreds of homes, schools, restaurants, walkways. Everything is built on wooden stilts and supports, stretching across the sea. For generations, life here has unfolded with almost no need to step onto solid ground. Children grow up with the sound of waves. Fishermen wake before sunrise, heading out into the open sea. Even daily transportation happens on the water. But living in the middle of the sea means nature is always close. Strong winds, heavy rain, monsoon storms. And isolation. Everything becomes more difficult when the ground beneath your feet does not truly exist. Yet despite it all, Koh Panyi still endures. Day after day, generation after generation. Like a reminder that when nature creates limits, humans do not always destroy them. Sometimes they learn how to live with them. The most frightening thing about this place is not above the trees. It is what waits below. Hidden deep within the tropical forests of Papua, Indonesia, exists a community that chose to survive in a way that almost seems impossible. They do not build homes on the ground. They build them in the sky. The Korowai people live in tree houses suspended from 30 to nearly 100 feet above the forest floor. Built from wood, vines, palm leaves. No modern machinery. No advanced construction technology. Only knowledge passed down through generations. From a distance, the houses look like they're floating above the forest canopy. But for the Korowai people, this is survival. Beneath them lies a brutal world. Dense jungle, insects, extreme humidity, sudden floods, and dangers hidden deep within the shadows of the rainforest. Living high above this ground means greater safety. Drier conditions, and a better chance of survival. But the most incredible part isn't that humans can live nearly 100 feet above the ground. It's that in an environment almost impossible to control, they didn't try to change nature. They adapted to it. There are places on Earth where winter is more than just a season. It's a test of survival. Hidden deep within the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, at over 7,000 feet above sea level, lies a community where snow can isolate people from the rest of the world for months. Ushguli, one of the highest permanently inhabited settlements in Europe. From a distance, Ushguli looks like an ancient fortress forgotten among the snowy mountains. Centuries-old stone towers stand silently beneath the ice. Surrounding them are enormous mountain peaks. Freezing winds and winters that feel endless. When the snow begins to fall, roads can disappear completely. Travel becomes a challenge. Isolation becomes part of everyday life. In this place, nature decides the rhythm of human life. Not clocks, not technology, but the weather. Yet despite the altitude, despite the snow and ice, people still remain. In a land where nature constantly reminds them that human existence is not guaranteed. But something that must be earned every single day. In this place, the mountains do not stand beside the ocean. They plunge straight into it. Hidden within Norway's Lofoten Islands. Reine is a small village perched on the edge of the Arctic Circle. A place where icy seas, towering mountains, and brutal weather control nearly everything. From above, Reine looks like a place that shouldn't even exist. Tiny red houses cling to the water's edge. In front of them, the Arctic Sea. Behind them, massive cliffs rising thousands of feet into the sky. Winter here brings powerful winds, freezing temperatures, and violent ocean storms. Nature constantly puts pressure on anyone trying to survive here. For centuries, the people of Reine have lived by the sea, fishing in freezing Arctic waters. Building a life in a place where nature has always been stronger than man. Here, A massive storm is more than just bad weather. It can determine the rhythm of an entire community. In a place where mountains seem to fall straight into the ocean, a small community still survives. A reminder that sometimes humans do not conquer nature. They learn how to live with it. In the middle of one of the driest deserts on Earth appears a place that almost shouldn't exist. Water, greenery, and life. Huacachina, a small oasis nestled in the middle of Peru's vast sand dunes. From above, this place looks like a mirage. Massive sand dunes rising hundreds of feet stretch endlessly toward the horizon. No rivers, no regular rainfall, no ideal conditions for building a community. Yet in the middle of a land that seems lifeless, a lake still exists. Sustaining trees, people, and an entire small town. But living in the desert means living with nature's limits. Extreme heat, dryness, and water, the one thing that determines every form of life here. Amid an almost endless sea of sand, people had to learn how to adapt, turning what once seemed impossible into everyday life. But the most incredible part isn't that Huacachina exists. It's that in a place where nature itself seemed to reject life, humans still found a way to call it home. And you? Which place on this list amazed you the most? And would you be brave enough to live there?